Karen called me a militant loner. My community voted me HOA president in retaliation. Have you ever been labeled something so wildly inaccurate that it lit a fire in you to prove everyone wrong? That's exactly what happened when Karen, the neighborhood's self-appointed queen of complaints, stood up at a community meeting and branded me a militant loner in front of everyone. Me, Jake Larson, the guy who'd been quietly mowing elderly neighbors' lawns and organizing impromptu BBQs, suddenly painted as some unhinged recluse. Her words stung, but they also sparked something bigger, a movement that would turn her accusation into her undoing. It all started at the annual HOA meeting in our cozy suburban enclave, where 200 families shared cul-de-sacs and picket fences. Karen, with her perfectly coiffed hair and a clipboard she wielded like a scepter, had been the HOA president for 3 years. She ruled with an iron fist, issuing fines for slightly overgrown hedges, banning unsightly garden gnomes, and once sending a cease and desist letter to a kid for chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Everyone grumbled, but no one challenged her. She had a knack for shutting down dissent with a smile that was equal parts charm and menace. I'd always kept my head down. I'm a single dad, a landscaper by trade, and I spent my days keeping my small yard tidy and helping out neighbors like Mrs. Callahan, who couldn't push a mower anymore. But Karen had it out for me ever since I refused to join her neighborhood beautification committee. I wasn't against it. I just didn't have time between work and raising my daughter, Lily. That refusal apparently was a declaration of war. At the meeting, Karen was in rare form, rattling off her latest decrees when the topic of the community garden came up. I'd been tending it, voluntarily planting tomatoes, teaching kids like Lily how to grow herbs. Karen wanted it replaced with a low-maintenance rock feature to elevate property values. I stood up, heart pounding, and said, "The garden's a place for kids to learn, for neighbors to connect. Rocks don't grow community." The room went quiet. Karen's eyes narrowed. "Jake," she said, voice dripping with venom, "this is why you're a militant loner. You think you know better than everyone else. Holed up in your little world, undermining the HOA's vision." The label hit like a punch. Militant? Loner? I felt eyes on me, some sympathetic, others unsure. I sat down, face burning, as Karen moved on with her agenda. But her words lingered, festering. I wasn't a loner. I had friends. Neighbors who'd stop by for a beer, kids who'd wave when I drove past. And militant? For caring about a garden? I could have let it slide, but something in me snapped. I wasn't going to let Karen rewrite who I was. The next day, I was venting to my neighbor, Raj, while we fixed a fence post together. Raj, a tech guy with a quick laugh and a knack for organizing, was livid on my behalf. "She called you what?" he said, shaking his head. "Jake, you're the glue around here. You're always helping out. She's just mad you don't bow to her." Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Raj leaned in, eyes glinting. "You know what? You should run for HOA president. Show her who the real community is." I laughed it off, in charge of the HOA, but Raj wasn't joking. By that evening, he'd rallied Mrs. Callahan, the Patels across the street, and even grumpy old Mr. Hensley, who never left his porch. They all agreed Karen had to go. The campaign wasn't planned, it was born from pure, raw frustration. Raj turned out to be a master strategist, printing flyers that read, "Jake Larson, for a neighborhood that grows together." Lily, my 10-year-old, designed them with drawings of sunflowers and smiling neighbors. We didn't have Karen's polish, but we had heart. I knocked on doors, listened to gripes about Karen's rules, and shared my vision. Fewer fines, more community events, and keeping the garden alive. People opened up. They were tired of Karen's reign, of feeling like their homes were under a microscope. One night, Mrs. Callahan grabbed my hand and said, "Jake, you remind us we're neighbors, not just property owners." That's when I realized this wasn't just about proving Karen wrong, it was about proving what we could be. But Karen didn't go down without a fight. She caught wind of my campaign and went nuclear. Suddenly, my mailbox was stuffed with anonymous letters calling me unfit and divisive. At the next HOA meeting, she brought in a surprise ally. Her cousin, Todd, a slick real estate agent from out of town. Todd stood up, all smiles and shiny loafers, and praised Karen's proven leadership, while implying I was a nobody with no credentials. "Do we want a landscaper running our community?" he sneered, as if my calloused hands were a crime. Karen nodded along, tossing out buzzwords like stability and standards. The room was split. Some neighbors bought Todd's act. Others whispered in my defense. I felt the tide turning against me, doubt creeping in. Had I bitten off more than I could chew? Then came the game changer. At the final debate, Karen overplayed her hand. She stood at the podium, listing her accomplishments, when she made a fatal mistake. "If you elect Jake," she said, "you're choosing chaos. He's got no experience, no vision. He's just a guy who cuts grass and thinks he's a hero." The room bristled. Then Lily, who'd been sitting quietly with Raj's kids, stood up. My shy, quiet Lily, voice trembling but clear, said, "My dad's not a hero. He's just my dad. He helps people because he cares. Isn't that what this place should be about?" The room erupted in applause. Mrs. Callahan dabbed her eyes. Even Todd looked rattled. Karen's face went paleshed, been outshone by a 10-year-old. The vote was a week later, and the tension was electric. Karen's campaign had money banners, catered events, but mine had momentum. Neighbors I barely knew started wearing "Grow Together" pins Lily made. On election night, we gathered in the community center. Karen sat smugly, certain her reign was secure. When the results were announced, the room gasped. Jake Larson, 142 votes. Karen, 58. A landslide. Karen's clipboard clattered to the floor. She stormed out, muttering about ungrateful people and standards. Todd trailed after her, looking like a deflated balloon. The aftermath was sweeter than I'd imagined. My first act as HOA president was to reinstate the community garden, now named Lily's Patch after my daughter's speech. We slashed petty fines, started a monthly potluck, and even let kids draw chalk art again. Karen? She faded into the background, her influence gone. Rumor has it she's selling her house, unable to handle a neighborhood that no longer bowed to her. I don't wish her ill, just peace somewhere else. Looking back, Karen's insult was the spark that lit a fire. It wasn't just about me. It was about a community tired of being bullied, ready to stand up. I'm no hero, like Lily said. I'm just a guy who cares. And maybe that's enough. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or was there a better way to handle her? Share your thoughts. I'm all ears.